All TUG events and speaker presentations are available in high-definition download from ethymarket.com. Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening and good morning for everyone all over the world. We're back again at the Untangled gathering, and I'm going to introduce our next presenter, who I've been so excited to meet and to watch this presentation with everyone, Dr. Sam Osmanagich. It is such a pleasure to have you with us. Of course, the discoverer and researcher extraordinaire when it comes to the Bosnian pyramids. And I know you have a lot to talk about. So I'm going to let you have the floor. And away you go.
Thank you very much, Dee. I'm happy to be part of this conference. Now, almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. For the pyramids, they claim for the last couple of hundred years that they are built in Egypt and Mexico, and that is wrong. They are built all over the planet. For Egyptian pyramids, Egyptologists have been saying that they were built as tombs for pharaohs. Again, wrong. In the biggest, most superior Egyptian pyramids, no mummies, no pharaohs. There are at least 155 pyramids on Egyptian soil. What I'm showing now are three most magnificent and the best known. To the right, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, or Cheops, or Khufu Pyramid, with a height of 147 meters. It was long considered the largest structure of the ancient world. Then, Egyptologists have been claiming that his son, Khephren, built second largest pyramid, and his grandson, Myceren, built the third magnificent pyramids on the Giza Plateau. However, when you build something that will be seen by future generations, you will make sure that at least from the outside, they know who the builders were. In this case, we see no sign on outside who really built those pyramids. And when you get inside, we can see megalithic passageways, perfectly done. But the chambers are empty. No mummies, no pharaohs, no royal furniture, no hieroglyphic writings, no symbols, no tools, no organic material. Not a single proof who, when, how, and why. The time will show that the claims by Egyptologists in the last 200 years, supported by Hollywood movies in the last few decades, the pyramids on the Giza Plateau were built by the fourth pharaohs, are the biggest hoax in history. Let's look at the Great Pyramid of Egypt. The size of the length at the base is 231 meters. Two sides, 462. Divided by height of 147, the result is number pi, 3.14. Officially, this number will become known to humanity only 2,000 years after the pharaoh Cheops, during the ancient Greek civilization. In a similar fashion, we can get another important number, 1.618, number phi, the golden cut. But also in this pyramid, the distance between our planet and the sun is incorporated. The distance between our planet and the moon is there also. The ancient Egyptians, the fourth dynasty pharaohs, simply did not have this knowledge. Those pyramids were built much, much earlier by more superior civilization. When you go to the National Museum in Cairo, they will proudly show you the primitive, soft copper tools which we have in the bottom left corner, and wooden stick in the right bottom corner. And they will try to convince you that's all Egyptians needed to build the most impressive structure of the ancient times, which we cannot repeat with our technology. However, when you see the motifs on Egyptian prehistorical vases, we can see the animals, birds, and the pyramids 1,500 years before the 4th dynasty, 1,000 years before Egyptian pharaohs. Those pyramids, according to our mainstream science, were not supposed to be there, but they were there. We go 1,000 kilometers to the south, to the former Nubian kingdom, 224 pyramids there. We go to the north from African continent, the island of Sicily, today's Italy, 43 step stone pyramids, four-sided, stepped in design, volcanic stone, cornerstones nicely shaped. We don't know who or why. We go to the other side of Africa, the Canary Islands, the biggest one is Tenerife. Again, tens of pyramids, stepped in design, four-sided, plateau on the top, volcanic stones, cornerstones nicely shaped. When we climbed the stairways on the western slope during the most important day for the ancient people, the summer solstice, we can see sun rising exactly in the middle of the plateau, meaning the pyramid was built with the orientation to the summer solstice. When I spoke to the professor at La Laguna University before my lecture there, I asked them if they visited the pyramids. They said, yes, we were in Guimar, but according to Spanish scientific community, they were not pyramids, but the pile of rocks made by local farmers while they were cleaning the area for the agriculture. I said, nonsense. Of course, they are not pile of rocks, but perfectly designed and executed pyramids with perfect orientation. They stopped talking to me. They never came to my lecture, but I had 250 students who wanted to know the truth. What is the problem of the Spanish mainstream science? 500 years ago, the Spanish conquerors were sailing to the west, to Meso and South America. But the first people they encountered were people on Canary Islands, Guanches, very advanced culture. They were building stone towns, stone pyramids, temples, irrigation canals. But they did not have military. Living on the island, they had no need to. The Spaniards came and they wiped them off from the face of the planet in a matter of few decades. And today, in order to hide such barbaric acts, they are saying Guanches were primitive, not capable of building pyramids and temples. So they falsify the history. We go to the other side of Africa, east side, the island of Mauritius. When you go through the very dense sugarcane fields, reaching the height of 4 meters, you can see the stone structures. When you climbed one of them, you got a beautiful view of total of 7 stepped stone pyramids, the same height of the steps, the same width, four-sided, perfect orientation to the summer solstice, plateaus on the tops. When I sent my report to the government of Mauritius, asking them to investigate them together, because there is not a single word about those pyramids in history books. They answered me, Dr. Osmanagich, we don't have pyramids. That's what you're showing are just a pile of rocks made by local farmers 100 years ago while de-rocking the area so they could plant the sugarcane fields. So, who to believe? The government or our own eyes? I had a press conference on the island with a presentation about their pyramids. And the next day, in the largest newspaper, L'Express, there was an article saying the smart Bosnian wants to reinvent our history. He claims that we had pyramids, and we know very well that we didn't. What is the problem with the government of Mauritius? According to every history book, encyclopedias, this island was not inhabited until the 16th century. And then white Europeans came, and Europeans never built pyramids. So now, because of the pyramids, we have to change the history of this island too. We go to Mesoamerica. In today's countries of Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, the Mayan civilization built not less than tens of thousands of pyramids, and 98% of them still being buried in the jungles and forests. And this one on the slide, the Great Pyramid of Tikal in the northern Guatemalan province of Petén, was considered the biggest one for the longest time. And indeed, 94 meters, very impressive. However, a much bigger town was discovered 12 years ago, El Mirador, 3 days of walk north from Tikal, very close to the Mexican border. The largest pyramid is hidden below trees. But if cleaned, it should look like this. Over 100 meters in height. What do we know about the civilization if 98% of their cities, buildings, temples, pyramids are still hidden in the vast jungle? The Mayan city of Palenque in the Mexican state of Chiapas. Today, we have 25 cleared, open, reconstructed pyramids. However, originally they had 1,229. And the biggest one on the photo to the left is still covered by forest. Unfortunately, Mexican government does not have a desire to clean this one. Why? Because not only this is the biggest one, but the oldest one. Now, that is something that it's not something that they teach us in schools. They're telling us before we were primitive, and at the time we were getting more smarter, more intelligent, more technically advanced. In the case of the Mayan civilization, it was opposite. First, the biggest, and then the smaller ones. In the case of Egyptian pyramids, opposite. First, the biggest one, stone pyramids made from limestone and granite, and later on, by the 12th dynasty rulers, 18th dynasty, that are made from the mud bricks. The theory of evolution does not apply here. One of the pyramids in the little Mayan city of El Chuatan in El Salvador. The first view, you would say just a natural hill. However, close to the bottom, we can see the blocks that they make, stairway. San Andres, also El Salvador, one of their pyramids completely covered by soil and grass. If cleaned, it should look like this. The pyramids in Compan, Western Honduras, the biggest pyramid was cleaned in 1987 until 1989. by archaeologists from United States and Honduras. They were removing the trees because the roots are damaging the stairs. And then they discovered that inside the biggest pyramid, there was a 700 years old temple, which they named Rosalila, due to its characteristic rose color. Now, in this particular case, the pyramid was used for something more important, as a protection for this temple, nicely preserved. Above the door, we can see the symbol for our star system, our solar system. Above that one, the big white one, is the symbol for the core of our galaxy, Milky Way, Hunabku, as the Mayan called it. And to the left and to the right, we can see in the wall carved two vehicles, with the wheels, body of the vehicle, and the cabin. What is the message on the wall? Were man able to move between the middle of our solar system and the middle of our galaxy? We can nicely see the wheels of the vehicle, the body, and inside the cabin, we can see the profile of Mayas with the big nose and the big cheeks. And really, how did the Mayas had such vast knowledge of astronomy? Belize is the tiniest state in Mesoamerica, but they had no less than 1,000 Mayan cities, towns, and villages. Every one of them would have several pyramids, and most of them still hidden in the jungle. You go to Peru, South America, the area of Cavachi, 50 kilometers to the south from the famous Nazca lines. 9 years ago, Italian archaeologists told me that they discovered 3 pyramids. 6 years ago, when I went again, now they're talking about 34 pyramids. Who built this city of pyramids in southern Peru? Everything they tell us about it is wrong. They're saying it was built 1,800 years ago. I asked them if they found any organic material. They said yes, female bone in one of the pyramids, which they named the Pyramid of the Moon. I asked them how old. They said the bone was 4,500 years old. So how is it possible to have a bone 4,500 years old inside the structure, which is, according to them, only 1,800 years old? What is their problem? Officially, the history of advanced societies in Peru, only 3,000 years old. And now, because of the pyramids, we need to change the Peruvian history as well. We go to the north side of this beautiful country, to Cume area, with 200 pyramids. They are built from the adobe bricks. If you start cleaning at the base, removing the desert sand and dust, you'll be able to find walls built from those bricks. We can also see the signs of heavy vertical erosion on these structures. Obviously, they have been exposed to the prolonged rains and storms. Well, the problem with the mainstream science is that the climate in this area of Peru has been the same for the last 7,000 years. Dry, sunny. So when did we have those rains and storms? 8,000, 12, 15,000? And when those structures were built, again, change of the history. We go to the northeastern Peru, near the town of Trujillo, the biggest pyramidal structure in South America, Huaca del Sol. What we have today is 150 million bricks installed in this structure. However, this is only 1/3 of the original size of the structure. When the Spaniards came in the 16th century with only one desire, to try to find the gold or diamonds inside the structure. What they did, they moved the nearby river Moche to the pyramid. River washed away 2/3 of the structure. But even what remained today is impressive. Archaeologists are saying that this complex of the Pyramid of the Sun, Huaca del Sol, and the Pyramid of the Moon, Huaca de la Luna, just across, it took 30,000 workers 300 years. Now, for 30,000 workers, you would need to have a city of 100,000 people. 100,000 people requires tens of thousands of homes. Well, after 4 decades of research, instead of tens of thousands of homes, they discovered the remains of only 2. The second problem with this complex is, why would someone start building 2 pyramids that will take 200 years, and the grandkids of your grandkids will not be able to see the completion of the complex? The most northern part in Mexico with the pyramids is the town of Tula. Officially, this was a capital for Toltecs from the 8th to the 12th century. Today, 3 pyramids have been reconstructed. On top of one of them, we can see 8 stone columns. The Toltecs called them Atlanteans. They claim for themselves that they came from the east, from the Red Land. Now, to the east from Mexico is the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Red Land is obviously volcanic land. And sure enough, until 12,000 years ago, geologically speaking, there was a huge island or a small continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Many people called it Atlantis. Every of those 8 columns represent the face of different races: white and black and red and yellow and brown, from different continents. How did Toltecs know about all races from all continents in the 8th century? When they teach us that there was no communication between the continents, and only from the 16th century, when white Europeans started sailing to the west, the communication was established. They teach us wrong. The communication between the continents was there not only thousands, but tens of thousands of years ago. The Kukulkan Pyramid, one of the most beautiful examples of the pyramid architecture, especially in the Mayan world. A lot of astronomical features have been incorporated in this structure. For example, on 4 sides of the pyramids, we can see 4 stairways, 91 stairs each. 4 times 91, 364. You add the platform on the top, 365, which matches the number of days in our solar calendar. Very similar structure, but this time 10,000 kilometers to the east, Southeast Asia, Cambodia, the Koche Pyramid. 4 stairways, 7 levels. We really do not know who or why built this structure, which is 50 kilometers to the east from the famous Angkor Wat. Let's stay in Cambodia. To the left, we can see beautiful pyramidal temple. And now let's go back to Mesoamerica, Guatemala. Again, beautiful pyramidal temple of Black Jaguar, as we call it today, in Tikal. They're telling us there was no communication between the continents thousands of years back, and here we can see the same construction company. The largest pyramid on Mexican soil is Cholula Pyramid. In the 16th century, when Hernan Cortés came from Spain to conquer Mexico, he came to Cholula, found a city with 400 pyramids. He destroyed all of them. He started building churches. And on a huge hill in the town, he said, here we're going to build the largest church? Well, the end of the 19th century, it turns out that the church was built on the top of the biggest pyramid in Mexico. 1 meter below the layers of soil, there are stone blocks, the largest pyramid. So you can see cultural layer on the top of much older cultural layer. The pyramids in China have been a mystery for the outside world for the longest time. In 1967, the Chinese archaeologist had the lecture in Japan at the international conference, and he said that in the central Chinese province of Shanxi, over 250 pyramids were located. He found some type of the clay tablets with hieroglyphic symbols. He partially deciphered it. And he said that the oldest pyramids there were built over 12,000 years ago. He went back to China. They put him into the mental hospital. The year is 1967, the first year of the famous Chinese Cultural Revolution. If you had opinion different than mainstream science, you wouldn't have a good time. After that, the Chinese government ordered the plants to be planted, the trees to be planted on the top of their pyramids. They wanted to show them to the outside world as just the natural hills and natural forests. However, thanks to our satellite technology, we were able to locate all 250 of them. When I visited the place, I spoke to the Chinese archaeologists, and I saw that the biggest pyramids are untouched yet. So I asked them when they plan to dig on those pyramids. They answered me, the Chinese government said that they won't be able to get permission for another generation, 25 to 30 years. What is the problem with the Chinese government? 20 biggest pyramids are made from the superior materials, granite and sandstone, and they are older than 12,000 years. 230 smaller pyramids are built by the Chinese emperors from 2300 to 1000 before present, from the inferior material, from the mud bricks, which is even used today as a construction material. Now, officially, the Chinese history is about 5,000 years old. Officially, the history of advanced Chinese society is 2,300 years old. Everything started with the Emperor Qin, who united 7 Chinese provinces in blood into one country, who built the Great Chinese Wall, who started the same currency. And now, because of the pyramids, we need to move their history for 10,000 years. They are not ready for that. The pyramids in Bolivia, over 4,000 meters above the sea level, next to the lake Titicaca, the pyramid complex of Acapena, the step stone pyramids. Today, not much left. Everything is covered by soil, grass, bushes. However, we can see the stone blocks laying around. They are made from granite. And as we know, granite is the hardest material in the nature. On a Mach scale from 1 to 10, granite is 6.5. Today, in order to shape granite, we need to use diamond tools. And we can see on top left how those blocks were perfectly shaped. Top right, we can see blocks with a laser straight surface. This block could be used today as an instrument. And bottom right, we can see blocks that were obviously machined. German-Bolivian mathematician and archaeologist, Dr. Poznansky, spent 50 years of his life exploring this complex. His conclusion, the pyramid is 17,000 years old. The question is, who had diamond tools, lasers, and machines 17,000 years ago? When mainstream scientists claim that until 2,000 years ago, the only tools they had in this area were primitive and soft copper tools. So now we need to change the history of Bolivia. This is the look of the most famous pyramid on Mexican soil, the Pyramid of the Sun, in the city of Teotihuacan 157 years ago. First view, you would say a natural hill with bushes and forests. It took 75 years for Mexican and American archaeologists to completely clean it and reconstruct it. And this is how it looks like today. When you look from the base of the pyramids, the tourists who climb the top, they're becoming so tiny. It seems that the builders wanted to reach the sky with this structure. And really, 74 impressive meters. Interestingly enough, the Cheops, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, is exactly 2 times higher. Now, as we learn, in the Cheops pyramid, the number pi, 3.14, has been incorporated. In this pyramid in Mexico, square root of number pi has been incorporated. The length at Cheops pyramid's base, 231 meters. The length here at the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, 231 meters. 3 major pyramids at the Giza Plateau, Cheops, Khafre, and Mycerium, 3 major pyramids in Teotihuacan, Sun, Moon, Quetzalcoatl, and their layout is exactly the same. They are telling us there was no communication between the continents thousands of years back, and here we can see the signature of the same architect. The pyramids on US soil, they don't teach us about them in schools. However, we have over 200 pyramids in the state of Illinois, so-called Cahokia National Park. The largest pyramid, as they call it, Monk's Mound, bottom right, has the surface 11% larger than the surface of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Now you would imagine that once US has such a treasure, 200 pyramids, that they would make a new Las Vegas from it, and the billions of dollars would pour over there. That's not the case. They don't even dig over there. I spoke to the archaeologists at Cahokia Park and asked them if they've been digging, if they've been finding the tunnels, if they've been finding the chambers. He told me no. I said, why? He said, first, it's very hard to get permission. I mean, they have a museum, he works there. It would be normal to expect that they dig all the time. And secondly, he said, archaeology is very expensive. Very expensive for the United States of America, the only remaining superpower on the planet. Has to be much more than that. Everything they tell us about this complex is wrong. They call those pyramids mounds. Well, mound is pile of dirt. And here we have at least 4 types of the construction material. Sandstone plates, nicely shaped, pebbles, rocks, sand. When they completed the structure, they cut the squares of grass and soil. They turned them upside down and covered those structures. 200 of them, with the perfect orientation, east, west, north, south, all of them but one, the biggest one. That one has the orientation not to true north, but to the magnetic north. The builders who knew the difference between magnetic and true north were advanced society. And at the site, in the museum, which cost them $25 million, they want to convince us that the primitive, half-naked Indians built those structures, the city of pyramids. They are hiding the truth. There were more advanced civilization before white, before American Indians. Pyramids on Italian soil Not a single word about them in history books. 5 pyramidal complexes on Italian soil, and the biggest one, Monte Vecchio pyramids near Milan. We have 3 large pyramids covered by soil, and their layout is exactly the same as the layout of Egyptian old pyramids in Teotihuacan. The pyramids in Indonesia, Western Java, the Gunung Padang site, the Hill of Light. I met with Dr. Danny Hillman, geologist who discovered the pyramids. The pyramid is completely covered by soil and forest in the middle of the jungle. And according to him, there are 4 cultural layers, anywhere from 3,000 years to 6,000 years, 10,000 years, and the base of the pyramid, 23,000 years. So now the history of Indonesia has to be changed. And of course, he has tremendous obstacles from the mainstream archaeologists and geologists who ask the government not to allow him to dig. But fortunately, the president of Indonesia disposed 200 soldiers to help him dig this pyramid. Inside, there is a triangular chamber, which is upside down. And the idea is to get to this chamber and make a tunnel to it. 3 years ago, a business owner from Chicago built so-called the Golden Pyramid, 7-story residential structure on his property. It was clay. Clay is waterproof. By the time he was completing the roof, which he covered with the golden plates, golden leaves, and it cost him $1 billion at that time, he noticed that the water was coming on the surface. He finished the structure. He had an artificial lake on his property. So now we realize that the pyramid has certain powers, like a water pump, hydraulic pump. So the pyramid is much more than the structure. What he did there, he made a smaller replica of Great Pyramid of Egypt, 1-9, with the same slopes, 52 degrees, 4 sides, perfect orientation, east, west, north, south. And then the pyramid started working. A beautiful pyramid, Dashur, Red Pyramid in Egypt. Look at the shape and geometry. And now, look at the shape and geometry. Same. But this time we are in the heart of Bosnia-Herzegovina, in southern Europe, near the town of Visoko, 20,000 inhabitants. Exactly 10 years ago, in the spring of 2005, I came to the town of Visoko, not because of pyramids, but to visit the local museum. And then I saw this. After 20 years of pyramid research all over the planet, after my PhD in Mayan pyramids, I learned that most of the pyramids in the world are actually covered by soil and vegetation. In China, all of them; in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Salvador, Belize. Of course, Egyptian pyramids are more to the south, in a desert. They are visible. Peruvian also. But what makes a pyramid? Not pharaohs, not tombs, not place to sacrifice enemy. The pyramids are geometry, they are structures. There has to be common elements, a scientific criteria to call something a pyramid. So I came there 10 years ago and I'm looking and I can see the hill, as they call it, with the 4 sides, one in the front, one to the left, one to the right, one in the back, 4 sides. Then I'm looking in the front, we can see nice triangular face. Second one to the left, third one to the right, 4 triangular faces. Look at the corners, beautiful corners, and look at the slope. From bottom to the top, the same slope. And those 4 sides meet at apex. Geometrically speaking, this was a pyramid. I took a compass, which I had with me, and the compass showed me that these sides perfectly match cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. I knew that Mother Nature does not make hills with the 4 triangular faces and perfect orientation, but intelligent hands. After thousands of years, due to the wind and the rain, the pyramid got covered by soil and vegetation. The continental climate in Bosnia, the same like in China, similar to those in Mesoamerican countries. And this is why we have this pyramid covered by 1 meter of soil. And forest has been planted in 1960s and 1970s. Now, if we are to clean the whole structure, it should look something like this. What we did here, we actually only replaced the green color, which is in existence now, with the brownish color. And this is what we are getting here. Let's see how the pyramid looks like from the air. The town of Visoko, two major rivers, eastern and northern slope of the pyramid. A beautiful geometry, towering the town of Visoko. In the last 10 years, we have completely new phenomena here in Southern Europe. For the first time, one large archaeological project is not run by departments of archaeology, universities, national museum, ministries of culture, by people who are paid to do their job, but by non-profit, non-government foundation, which I named the Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation. In the last 10 years, we have spent over 350,000 hours on archaeological digging, sample testing, lab analysis, radiocarbon dating, and we have concluded that we have at least 5 pyramids, which we named the pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, with a huge network of underground prehistorical tunnels, and the whole complex is named the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. Now, that huge Mexican pyramid, 74 meters high, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, 147, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, at least 220 meters, and it makes her the largest pyramid structure ever made on the face of the planet. The orientation, especially to the north, has always been important. All Chinese pyramids are oriented to the north. All old Egyptian pyramids, north. Most of the Peruvian, north. Some Mexican, north. All Cahokia, north. So far, we thought that the most precise orientation was the northern face of Great Pyramid of Egypt, with the error of 0 degrees and 2 minutes. According to the measurement of the Bosnian State Institute for Geodesy, after applying scientific instruments, the error of the northern face of Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun to the true north is 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and only 12 seconds, the most precise orientation on the planet. This nice three-dimensional topographic map of the Sun Pyramid is showing corners between west and north, between north and east, between east and south. We can see the access plateau, the terrace leading to the pyramid, which is 250 meters long, 80 meters wide, completely paved with the sandstone plates. The moment this access plateau touches the pyramid, material change, I will show you which one, and also we can see the top, which is completely flat. In the plateau, all original, oldest and biggest pyramids would have this flat plateau on the top, and the end was the pyramidion. Again, the shape of the pyramid, but always better quality material, more conductive material, granite, gold-plated granite, or gold. And all original pyramidions from China, Egypt, Bosnia are missing now. Without the important part, the pyramid cannot perform the work originally planned anymore. Three main pyramids in Bosnia, Sun, Moon, Dragon, form equilateral triangle when we connect their tops, shown in green. 2,180 meters between their tops, inner angles at 60 degrees. The top of the Love Pyramid, Earth, River, and the tunnel. Another equilateral triangle, triangle within triangle, sacred geometry. Sacred geometry equals movement of the energy. Somebody was looking at the valley from the above, and then they were laying out all those structures. Now, if we extend those lines to the natural landmarks, like the places where two rivers meet on the top, then bottom left, another river, we are getting another triangle. And if we use the same midpoint, we got the base for the flower of life. In order to calculate the diagonal and the length of the side at the base of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, we need to apply square root of number 3 and square root of number 2, 1.71, 1.42, but these are irrational numbers. They never end. In Egyptian pyramids, we have number pi, 3.14, irrational number. Actually, it is 3.141592653588 billions of numbers. For the ancient builders, irrational numbers were alive. So when they incorporated into the pyramids, their message is, the pyramids are alive too. To the right, we can see the shadow of the Sun Pyramid. To the left, we can see the western triangular slope of the Moon Pyramid. And it is summer solstice, June 21st. Just before the sunset, the shadow of the Sun Pyramid forms another pyramid, which touches at the base, Moon Pyramid, and it's the same in height as the Moon Pyramid. 2 months later, the photo to the left, we can see that we follow the movement of the shadow of the Sun. Now, we can see the shadow moves towards the Moon Pyramid. And in the photo to the right, just before the sunset, the shadow completely covers the Moon Pyramid. So in a symbolical way, the builders are saying, the rule of the sun and the day is over, and the rule of the night and the moon starts. Genius. Obviously, the builders built the Sun Pyramid first. They were checking the shadow, and at the sunset, they determined the location of the Moon Pyramid, and based on the height of the shadow, they determined the height of the Moon Pyramid. Superior builders. Dr. Harry Oldfield, the British scientist who developed a special camera called PIP camera, is able to film what he calls the bioenergy fields. Now in this photo, we can see a natural pointy hill in Bosnia. Now those bioenergy fields are all horizontal. They are above the hill, painted in green, red, blue, red, green. And here is the photo of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. And as you can see, those bioenergy fields, they are all vertical. Why? Well, for the first time, we're going to see how the pyramid actually works. Now, let's watch the inner parts of the pyramid. We can see the red color, the energy. As we're getting closer, we will see how the energy is being accumulating. Now, there will be more and more of red. Look, red. Everything is in red now. And this energy is getting released through the top of the pyramid, hitting horizontal bioenergy fields, and they become vertical. We have been filming this pyramid for 4 years now, the PIP camera, and those energy fields are always vertical. There is a constant energy flow through the pyramids. It means that this pyramid is still active and there is a flow of the energy. Does it mean that the pyramid is some type of the energy machine? A few words about the archaeology. Here we can see northern and eastern face of the pyramid. The yellow line are showing us places where we actually done some archaeological digging, where we removed the layers of soil. And everywhere we look, we are finding construction material. For example, in 2006, once we removed about 80 centimeters of soil, we discovered perfectly preserved northeast corner of the pyramid. And then, close to the base, at the northern face of the pyramid, we removed 80 centimeters of soil. We are finding perfectly shaped blocks. For example, the one which is shown is 4.5 meters long, 1.5 wide, 45 centimeters thick. It is 7 tons in mass. We can see flat top, break at 90 degrees, flat side, break at 90, flat bottom. 6 flat sides. Mother Nature does not make hills with the blocks like this one, which are perfectly rectangular with the 6 flat sides and with the breaks at 90 degrees, but intelligent hands. Next to this one is the second one, the third one, and so on. But this is only the first row of blocks. Below is the second one, and below is the third one and the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of blocks. It is a structure. Mother Nature does not construct, but intelligent hands. We took samples from those blocks. We sent them to 6 institutes for materials in Bosnia, France, Italy. They told us, first from university in Bosnia, that the blocks were artificial construction material. From University of Sarajevo, they told us that our sample is actually concrete. Now, there are 2 properties of concrete that determine the quality of concrete. The first one is the hardness. Harder the concrete, better the quality. The second one is the water absorption. The lower absorption, the better the quality. Our concretes today are in the range, when it comes to hardness, from 10 megapascals to 60 megapascals. The sample shown here had 73.6 megapascals hardness, harder than concretes that we make today in 21st century. The second element is water absorption. Is water can get inside the concrete blocks during the winter. The water freezes, the blocks breaks. The idea is to keep absorption as low as possible. Our norms today up to 3%. In this case, around 1%. Superior. Professor Patrick from the University of Zenica has analyzed over 50 samples, 50, and some of them were reaching unbelievable level of hardness of 133 megapascals. Never in human history such a good quality concrete was made like this one that covers the largest pyramid on the planet. We sent samples to distinguished Italian institute, the Politecnico di Torino, in Turin, Italy. After the analysis, they told us what we already knew, that the binding material for the concrete was produced by clay heating process. Concrete and clay as the binder. Of course, 2,000 years ago, in ancient Roman times, they were using clay as the binder, but they used it here in Bosnia thousands and thousands of years before. Professor Davidovic, distinguished scholar and expert in ancient concretes, got sample from one of our sites also. The moment he saw it, he said, this is man-made concrete. He put it under the electronic microscope and he found an artificial binder, which he names geopolymer cement. So we have proof after proof that we have concrete in the case of the Sun Pyramid. 2 leading Russian geophysicists, Professor Oleg Havroshkin and Professor Vladislav Tsiplakov from the Schmidt Institute of Russian Academy of Natural Sciences in Moscow, spent 2 years independently researching Bosnian pyramids with their own equipment, independently from us, from our foundation, And in the written report, they concluded that Bosnian pyramids are artificial structures and they match Egyptian pyramids. Secondly, the pyramid is built with a non-compact material. So it was built from ground up. And number three, from the top, 280 meters below, there was a network of tunnels. So the year is 2006, we established foundation, we got permissions, we started archaeological digging, removing the layers of soil above the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun and exposing those concrete blocks. In this archive photo from 2006, you can clearly see our typical Bosnian productivity. One guy is working and hundreds are watching. And on top of that, one is having a speech. Well, the year is 2006. It's just 11 years after the terrible war in Bosnia, when the economy was fully destroyed. And now, all of a sudden, we have discovery of the first pyramids in Europe, the biggest on the planet. CNN came to the site in April of 2006. We were breaking news for 2 days. The whole world saw the discovery of first European pyramids. So you would expect the majority of people and establishment and the government would say, yes, this is good for the country. Let's help these people uncover the pyramids. Everybody should be backing behind us, but it has not happened. Matter of fact, bottom upper corner, the leading Bosnian archaeologists from the University of Sarajevo attacked us. They were saying there are no pyramids in Bosnia. Upper left, National Museum, they were saying it's a nonsense. What pyramids? We did not have pharaohs, therefore we cannot have pyramids. Not very scientific approach, I must admit. In March of 2006, just 1 month before we were supposed to start excavation, 23 leading Bosnian archaeologists, geologists, historians, museum curators signed a petition sent to Bosnian government in which they asked the government not to allow us to dig there. They were saying there are no pyramids, we don't know what we're doing, we are going to destroy existing sites and so on and so forth. The Bosnian Prime Minister came in April of 2006. He saw those blocks, rectangular in shape. He said, Mr. Osmanagich, this is man-made concrete. He saw thousands of tourists pouring to Visoko. He said, this is good for tourism and the economy. Keep working and don't worry what jealous scientists are telling you. So we kept working, but those scientists got upset. They wrote a letter to the president of the European Archaeological Association, bottom left, Dr. Anthony Harding, asking him to help them to stop the project. Dr. Harding started writing against us in US and UK's magazines. Then he organized the second petition, signed by his friends, leading German, French, American, and British archaeologists. The Bosnian government rejected the second petition. We kept working. Now, the European Archaeological Association sent letters to all national European associations in France, Germany, Slovenia, Croatia, Poland. On their international conferences, they were discussing Bosnian pyramids, and they asked all European archaeologists to boycott Bosnian pyramid project, threatening archaeologists, if they go to Bosnia, once they come back to their respective countries, they will not be able to find a job as archaeologists anymore. The year is 2006. I don't have archaeologists from Europe. I said, fine. Let me go to Africa, Egypt. I asked their help to send me 3 experts. And three of them came. One archaeologist, geologist, historians. The first one to come was Dr. Ali Barakat, the center for it. Man with 40 years of experience in archaeology and geology. He wrote a book about the Egyptian pyramids. He was on National Geographic. He spent 42 days on Bosnian Pyramid Project. He wrote a scientific report, which he read on June 23rd, 2006 in Sarajevo at the press conference. The last sentence from his report was, "The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is a man-made pyramid." A big boost for us, slap in the face for the skeptics. The very same day, June 23rd, from the National Museum, upper left, the letter is going to his boss. Bottom right, the pharaoh, Dr. Zahi Hawass, in which she's saying, "Your man was here in Bosnia and he confirmed that pyramids exist. But it is impossible. You have to do everything to stop him." 2 days later, Dr. Zahi Hawass is having a meeting in Cairo between Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Tourism, and his Supreme Council of Antiquities. One topic on agenda: effects of discovery of Bosnian pyramids to tourism in Egypt. The year is 2006, 2 years before the recession of 2008. Everybody's traveling, everybody's having money. Egyptian economy making $20 billion from pyramid visitors in Egypt. Now imagine if 20% of visitors, instead of in Egypt, they go to Bosnia. And most of the visitors are from the United Kingdom, France, Poland, and Russia. And then Bosnia happens to be in Europe. 20% of 20 billion, over $4 billion. So now we realize that the Bosnian pyramid discovery is not a local scientific issue. It's a global scientific, economical, and political issue. After the meeting, Zahi Hawass is coming in front of reporters with the words, "Bosnian pyramids do not exist. They are natural formations. So-called concrete blocks are not concrete. They are natural blocks." Dr. Ali Barakat is not an expert in pyramids. The guy who he personally picked up and sent to Bosnia. And Osmanagich is hallucinating. Dr. Ali Barakat went back to Egypt, to Cairo, to the Ministry of Geology, where he used to work. And they fired him because he dared to speak his own sincere scientific mind without checking with his superiors first. And what did we do? We kept hallucinating and opened the project for volunteers from all over the world. For the first time in the world of archaeology, such a number of non-professionals had opportunity to come and work. Archaeology is very conservative science. If you want to dig, for example, at the Giza Plateau, of course you will not be allowed to do that. If you want to dig in China and Mexico, the same thing. You have to be politically correct. Archaeologists, departments, universities, no non-professionals. You go today at the Giza Plateau, you will see the swing in the back, in the front. They've been doing excavation. They have wooden pallets on top of it. When I spoke to Giza director, "What did you find so far?" He said, "This is confidential." Why is it confidential? This is the knowledge that does not belong to Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities only. It belongs to the world, to all of us. Great Chinese Wall is the cultural heritage of all of us. Eiffel Tower, pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, Peru, Bosnia, they belong to all of us. So we have allowed those people to come and to work under our supervision of archaeologists, geologists. Never such enthusiasm. People felt they were part of the huge discoveries. So they were pouring in Bosnia at their own expense. We had no government money, but we had desire. We had all this good stuff. that we are putting into this project. So when we think what to do next, well, few weeks later, dark forces were not sitting and waiting, but they were very aggressive. Top left, the State Commission for National Monument changed the law. And from one very small protected zone on the top of the Sun Pyramid, where in the Middle Age was a small fortress with one object only, they extended protected zone for 97 times. We were walking 400 meters from the top, and all our archaeological trenches has become the part of the protection zone. Who would ever protected this area from? From us. They didn't want us to continue excavation because they were the same people who were signing the petition to the government. And now we are finding more and more proof that we were right. We are finding blocks, concrete, construction material. But even if it is protected zone, you can get permission. So we send our project together with the archaeological faculty from Cairo University. Most countries would be happy to have leading Egyptian archaeologists. However, the Federal Institute for National Monument rejected our project 3 times with no written explanation. And her boss, the Minister for Culture, in 2 terms, 8 years, was saying publicly, as long as I minister, the foundation will never get funds or permissions. But we kept working. I was spending my own money. We were having enthusiasts. So the journalists from several leading Bosnian newspapers and magazines were writing against us. The leaders of the communists and social democrats were against us publicly. Bosnian Geological Society was saying there are no pyramids, it's all natural, without a simple one test. Bosnian archaeologists in Germany against us. Bosnian Academy of Sciences against us. So what do you do when all your countries, cultural establishments, archaeologists, geologists, historians, anthropologists, museums are against you? What do you do when Academy of Sciences is against you? What do you do when Ministry of Culture is against you? You give up. What do you do if European Archaeological Association is against you, with the leading European professors and the leading American professors and the most powerful Egyptologists in the world from Cairo is against you? 99.9% of people would give up. But do you give up your noble goals? Do you give up your scientific way when you know that you have scientific arguments on your side? Do you give up your dreams? We have never given up. As a matter of fact, we brought the Bosnian government to the court. We sued the ministry that did not issue us permission to work. After 4 years, the court in Sarajevo got the judgment in favor of the small, non-profit, non-government foundation against almighty government, saying that what they did was not correct and it was illegal. So we went back to the base of the Sun Pyramid, bringing hundreds or more of volunteers who were helping us exposing more and more of concrete blocks. Here is our trench number 4A. Some of the concrete blocks are clearly square, 32 tons in mass, hundreds of tons or more of concrete. Our trench number 4C, number 5A, we can see several layers. Again, number 5, thousands of tons of excellent quality concrete. Number 5B, going at 45 degrees all the way to the top. A huge concrete structure. Number 10, number 12. We started the work on the second pyramid also, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. We removed 1 meter layers of soil, and we are finding a beautiful pavements, terraces made from shaped sandstone blocks on all 6 sides, breaks at 90 degrees, one next to each other, You can see the first row, below is the second row, and the third row. The moment we started the excavation there, exposing the second largest pyramid on the planet, geologists from their cozy chairs started attacking us, from the mainstream science and from the alternative scene also. For example, Dr. Herbert Schopp. They are saying it is all natural. Really? Is Mother Nature capable of shaping those sandstone plates on all 6 sides and then moving them from the quarry for a couple of kilometers and then laying them out so perfectly and then even building stairs? Or it is done by intelligent hands? You make your own decisions. The Moon Pyramid, the center photo, from the bottom to the top, is 190 meters in height. Cheops is still at 147. So this is the second largest pyramid on the planet. Wherever we dig, and we've been digging on 43 different locations, from bottom to the top on different sides, we are finding pavements, rectangular structures, vertical walls, terraces, steps, shaped blocks, plates, more walls, more steps. In other words, below the layers of soil, a huge structure in the shape of the pyramid with triangular faces and perfect orientation. And finally, we got the flat top plateau on the top. Now, this is the top of the Moon Pyramid. We removed 1 meter of soil. We are finding the first terrace, the second one, the third one, and then we cut the hole to see how the profile looks like. And look, we got the first row of blocks below, about 10 centimeters, 4 inches of clay. Clay was used as the binder. Below the second row of blocks, and then again, 10 centimeters of clay. The third row of blocks, 10 centimeters of clay. The ancients were wise. They knew properties of natural construction materials. And for the clay, they knew it was excellent binder, but also it was waterproof, it was thermal insulation, it was sound insulation, and it gives flexibility to the structure. In a case of the earthquake, the structure does not collapse, it breathes and goes back to the original position. Base of the Moon Pyramid, we can see 3 terraces, 3 pavements made from large, medium-sized, and small plates. Large, medium, small, all the way to the top. Plus, we can see the way they build it, there is a Fibonacci formula applied here. However, when geologists see this, they said, oh, there is a clay. If there is a clay, it's natural sedimentation. Therefore, this is a natural formation. Wrong. They don't realize that, for example, all pyramids in China are built from clay. Picture right, we can see that once the Chinese archaeologists stripped one of their pyramids off the soil and vegetation, 90% of the structure was made from clay. Even left picture, which shows the underground tunnels, even those tunnels, 80% were made from clay, only 20% from bricks and sandstone plates. Now, how old are Bosnian pyramids? They're covered by soil. If we can figure out the age of the soil, then we can get to the minimum age of the structure below. The science that investigates the origin of soil is called pedology. In Bosnia, we have an institute for pedology. After the analysis, they told us in their scientific paper, which was published on our scientific conference in 2008, that the age of soil is between 12 and 15,000 years, meaning the structure is much older. And then, in 2012, our young Italian archaeologist, Nicola Visconti, with his group of volunteers, was removing the layers of soil and clay from the concrete blocks. And below the soil and on the top of the concrete block, he discovered this piece of organic brownish material, a fossilized leaf. We took samples, sent them for the analysis to Kiev, Ukraine, and they gave us the age, organic material, 24,800 years, plus minus 200 years. So we go back for 25,000 years in radiocarbon date. And this is on the top of the concrete blocks. meaning it is still a minimum age. So the structure existed, the wind was blowing, bringing this piece of leaf, and it remained there covered by dust and soil. If we could find a piece of organic material, let's say between the concrete blocks, then we could get a precise age of the structure. And that's exactly what happened in 2013. The team run by our archaeological manager, Tim Moon from New Zealand, below the first layer of concrete and above the second layer, discovered again fossilized leaves, like in a sandwich. Meaning, during the construction, again, wind was bringing more leaves. They remained there, and then they placed the top, the last layer of concrete. Now, these leaves can give us more precise age of the construction. Again, we did the radiocarbon dating, and the age we got was 29,200 years, plus minus 400 years. It's radiocarbon date, and calendar date or calibrated date is 15% more. So the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is about 34,000 years old structure. Everything we touch in this project changes the way we view human history forever. The first pyramids in Europe, the biggest, the largest on the planet, the most precise orientation to the north on the planet, the best quality concrete on the planet, and now the oldest pyramids on the planet. It's not enough to add one little paragraph in our history book saying, oh, by the way, there are some pyramids in Bosnia. No. When you change the beginning, everything else that follows has to be changed. So what do we do now? We change all the history books from Little Bosnia, Croatia, to France, United Kingdom, United States. The PhDs are not good anymore. Professorships also. They are teaching our kids wrong. So the establishment said, no, we're going to try to stop this project, or at least boycott it. And really, what was happening like tens of thousands of years ago? According to our mainstream scientists and archaeologists, historians, nothing. They don't realize that in the last 2 decades, there is such huge, sensational discovery. Like this one, 19 years ago, on the bottom of the Pacific floor, between the Japanese island of Yonaguni, Taiwan, and mainland China. When this photo came to the Japanese newspapers, Japanese archaeologists jumped to say, oh, this is natural. However, dozens of divers came and they started diving there. They discovered 13 underwater cities between Yonaguni and Taiwan, connected with 400 kilometers of underwater roads, pavements. Here, for example, to the left, we can see nicely shaped building made from the megalithic blocks. We can see stepped design with the temple on the top. Again, Japanese archaeologists, backed with their German and American colleagues, are saying it's all natural. The Pacific Ocean streams shaped this. What is their problem? They knew people will be starting asking questions. Who built it? You are telling us 7,000 to 8,000 years plus ago, there were no advanced civilizations. Now all of a sudden we have those beautiful temples. When they were built, by who? Well, obviously those temples are 30 to 80 meters below the sea level. And we are talking Pacific Ocean, the largest body of water on the planet. How much water would you need to raise the level of Pacific Ocean for 1 centimeter? A lot. And for 80 meters, it had to be a global catastrophe. Well, we know when the last such catastrophe happened, 12,000 years ago, with the end of the last ice age. Huge quantities of water, of ice melted, and this water went to the world seas and oceans. Pacific went up for 80 meters, Atlantic Ocean rose for 120 meters. Tsunamis were over 1,000 meters in height. The one that destroyed so many Indonesian islands 10 years ago, killed tens of thousands of people, was only 25 meters high. Imagine tsunami of 1,000 meters. It would destroy civilizations. And earthquakes and volcanic eruptions that followed, they were on such an unimaginable scale. More than 99% of humanity were wiped off the planet forever. Only a few of them survived, hiding in underground tunnels and natural caves on the top of the mountains. When they got out of those caves, they could witness that their world was destroyed forever. They had to start from the beginning. And this is what we call in science Neolithic times. Eastern Turkey, Göbekli Tepe, German archaeologist Dr. Klaus Schmidt for 19 years was discovering a miracle. Below the layers of pebbles and ground animal bones and ground human bones, he discovered several, so far 3 circles, with those erected stone blocks, T-shaped, some of them 25 tons in mass. Obviously, primitive cavemen did not do that. They did not have tools to shape it, to move it, to erect it. Well, when I spoke to him a year and a half ago, he told me that there are dozens of circles like this. The problem with the mainstream science is that when they are dating this, they're talking about 11,600 years, which is almost behind the end of the last ice age. Dr. Schmidt told me before he died, probably we are talking 15 to 18,000 years. According to the mainstream science, that was the era of the primitive cavemen. American anthropologists are saying it simply should not be there. But it is there. What do we do now? We need to research. 2008, we held the first international scientific conference on Bosnian pyramids. 55 scientists from 17 countries concluded that the Bosnian pyramids are archaeological features. They have to be investigating further. But there was already worldwide boycott of the project. We invited the Associated Press, France Press, Reuters, nobody showed up. The president of the conference, Dr. Nader Salim, triple PhD in archaeology from Egypt, he wrote in his article, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is the biggest in the world because it satisfies scientific criteria. He went back to Egypt. They told him that he betrayed his country by approving Bosnian pyramids. They threatened to take his pension away. So he distanced himself from the project. Professor Ezra Zubro, archaeologist from Buffalo State University, after his visits to Bosnian pyramids said, you need to find out who built the Bosnian pyramids, when they were built. We put a TV interview with him on YouTube. He went back to New York. His colleagues from Buffalo State attacked him, saying, oh, you are siding and supporting Bosnian pyramid project. So he distanced himself from the pyramids in Bosnia. The German archaeologists who are working together with the National Museum on the site only 3 kilometers from Bosnian pyramids, started discovering proofs supporting our hypothesis, even though they were not recognizing the Bosnian pyramids. For example, they found these beautiful, fine ceramic pyramids, 4 sides, plateau on the top. Even the ornaments were pyramidal. According to the Germans, 6,500 years is this pyramidal. It seems that the Neolithic man was checking what was around. Of course, the most magnificent structure was Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, and they were making their objects of art. 2011, another conference on Bosnian pyramids. 2012, another one. 2013, another one. 2014, another one. 115 experts from different fields confirmed that we have pyramids in Bosnia. Now, we do not intend to spend another 100 years trying to convince everyone that we have pyramids in Bosnia. We have to move on. We have to find out what is the purpose of pyramids. Archaeologists cannot help us, but experts in energy phenomena. The first one to come, physicist from Zagreb, Slobodan Mizrak. He was measuring electromagnetism on nearby hills, no anomalies. We were going around the Sun Pyramid, no anomalies. But when we came to the top of the pyramid, he detected and measured electromagnetism in a radius of 4.5 meters of 28 kilohertz frequency. He got outside of this radius, no measurements. He went back in, it was there. It meant this electromagnetism is in the form of energy beam going up, not to the left or to the right. 3 months later, Serbian electrical engineer Goran Marjanovic independently confirmed the same frequency of 28 kilohertz frequency. And then Finnish sound engineer Heikki Saulainen with his equipment, the guy in red, confirmed the same frequency. And finally, Italian anthropologist Professor De Bertolis confirmed the same frequency. When in the science you have 4 independent teams who come at 4 different times with their own equipment, and all of them are getting the same result, it is called international, independent, scientific verification of the phenomenon. Which phenomenon? This one here. Energy beam going through the top of the Sun Pyramid at the frequency of 28 kilohertz in a radius of 4.5 meters, which is focused and continuous. Why continuous? Because we've been measuring it during the winter and spring and fall and summer. Mother Nature does not make energy beams like this. You have to have a machine. Our conclusion, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is an energy machine that has been working continuously for 34,000 years as the first perpetual motion machine on the planet. And then we measured the strength of the signal. At the surface, 3 meters higher, another 3 meters higher. Every time we lift this sonda, signal was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The physicists could not believe. They said our technology, which we call Hertzian technology, is based on the premises that closer to the source of the energy, the signal is stronger. You move away, the signal is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. But since everything is upside down in this little country of Bosnia, our pyramids work different. You move away, the signal is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And let's name this non-Hertzian phenomenon. In the 21st century, we do not have technology based on non-Hertzian waves. However, the guy who was born merely 250 kilometers from the pyramids was experimenting in his lab in Colorado Springs in 1899 and 1900 with this type of technology, and his name was Nikola Tesla. He invented a transformer, which is known today as Tesla's coil, with which he was able to send energy beams wirelessly from one end of his lab to another one 18 meters away. And he was able to light up a light bulb, even if they were burned. And just before they are going to burn down his lab, because he was becoming a danger for the mainstream science, he did the last experiment. He sent energy beam to the ionosphere around our planet. Energy beam reflected, coming back much stronger, non-Hertzian phenomena. And then he lit up 10,000 homes in Colorado Springs. For the first time, one scientist from our civilization cycle has proven that unlimited quantities of energy were possible, that clean energy was possible, that wireless transportation was possible, that the non-Hertzian phenomenon was possible, and finally, that free energy was possible. Have American corporations accepted this invention? Of course not. How will JP Morgan, who was financing Tesla's work, sell the free energy and make money? Instead, with his colleagues, he started investing money in hydro, thermal, nowadays nuclear power plants, So they build very expensive transformers, very expensive cables, in which we lose 20 to 50% of the energy during the transportation, so they can sell it to us, end users, for a lot of money. And this is what we call the profit economy. However, the day will come when we will all have access to the free energy. And that will be the first pillar of the free society. A second pillar will be the free flow of knowledge. And based on those two pillars, we're going to have society of free women and free men. Amen. Austrian explorer Klaus Donner brought us this illustration of the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia. Different colors represent different passageways at different depths within the pyramid. For example, light blue all the way to the end, 5 meters deep, ends with a circle. Why circle? Circle is a chamber. White color, 10 meters deep, a lot of white and a lot of circles, a lot of chambers inside the pyramid. Brown, yellow, black, 7 levels of tunnels. And as we can see, every higher level is moved a little bit like they are forming the spiral. Now the spiral is very important because if you have a spiral within the pyramid, you got the base for the Tesla's non-Hertzian base. And that's exactly what Dr. D.J. Nelson found out when he made the small replica of Cheops pyramid. He put little Tesla's coil inside and he could observe non-Hertzian waves coming to the top of the pyramid. And not only the Bosnian pyramids are active in the world. In 2009, a tourist from El Salvador was filming his family. In the back, he had Kukulkan pyramid, and he filmed energy beam going through the top of the pyramid in Chichen Itza. And also the pyramid of the moon, Teotihuacan, energy beam going through the top of the pyramid. And of course, the pyramids coming from 2 Greek words, which means fire in the middle. Tesla, in his mature age, built famous Swollen Cliff Tower. He did only one experiment, but even after that one experiment, he concluded he had found ways that will make possible for humans to transport the energy in huge quantities, thousands of horsepowers, from one planet to another, regardless of their distance. And I quote, "I think that nothing can be more important than interplanetary communication. It will certainly come someday." We sent our own information about Bosnian pyramids to 3 labs, Zagreb, Croatia, Belgrade, Serbia, Vienna, Austria, and asked them, where is the source of the energy? Because pyramid does not make energy from nothing. They all told us the same thing. Exactly 2,440 meters below the pyramid, it had to be a huge iron plate or iron ore. Why iron? Because iron makes its own natural electromagnetic field. What the pyramid does, it sucks this electromagnetism, amplifying it. How do we know that pyramid amplifies the energy? Our 2 Russian colleagues, Kavroshkin and Tsiplakov, measured the strength of the signal at the bottom and close to the top. To the top, the strength was 50 times stronger. Now, we also know that below the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia, there is a lot of underground water flows. If you have 2 parallel underground rivers, in between, the electricity is generated. Then also, the water moves, releases negative ions. Then also, we have natural magnetism. So we have at least 4 measurable types of the energy associated with the Sun Pyramid in Bosnia. How many more that we don't know, that we don't have scientific instruments? How to measure orgone, chi, life energy. The pyramids are the most complex energy machines ever. And it's very possible that at one point in the past, they did act like this. Italian anthropologist, Professor De Bertolis, measured another energy phenomenon, an ultrasound. We can hear sound from 10 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Everything above 20 kilohertz is ultrasound. We don't hear it, but we can measure it using the instruments. He measured 28 kilohertz frequency ultrasound. Now, there is a way to convert ultrasound to sound, from 28 to 8 kilohertz that we can hear. So now for the first time, you'll be able to hear the sound going through the top of the sun pyramid, which is also continuous all year long. The pyramid speaks. Is this a fax message? A communication? People told us, why don't you slow it down? Let's see if we can hear something and try to understand something. Bosnia is the country of the miracles. Our pyramid speaks. Now here we can see peaks of 28 kilohertz. We can see regular distances between those peaks. We can see blocks of ultrasound in the case of the sun pyramid in Bosnia. Scientific method is to compare it with other phenomena. That's what we did. Nearby hills in Visoko. We don't see the same peaks. We don't see the regular distances. We don't see blocks of ultrasound. And then we checked one pyramid hill in Italy, Monte Pavione. Again, we don't see that regularity. We don't see those blocks. Only in the case of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Why is this frequency important? American Ralph Ring was experimenting with the ultrasound, 21, 22, 23 kilohertz. When he came to 28 kilohertz, he had the ping pong ball, the table tennis ball, above the speaker. At this frequency, the ball started levitating. He went to bed, leaving the machine on, came back next morning. The ball was still in the air. His conclusion, 28 kilohertz frequency is the levitation frequency. The pyramid builders knew that 34,000 years ago. Another brilliant Serbian electrical engineer, Goran Samukovic, brought his equipment to measure more electromagnetic phenomena. Of course, he found 28 kilohertz, but he also found another one, 7.83 hertz, which in science is called Schumann resonance. So now we can convert electromagnetism to sound. That's what we are doing here. 7.83 hertz is the best frequency for our mental, physical, intellectual abilities. The best meditation frequency. So let's hear what's happening inside the moon pyramid. It's like the whole orchestra. The pyramids are alive. The Schumann resonance for the planet was 7.83 at this level for thousands of years. All plants, animals, humans, we resonate at 7.83. Unfortunately, because of our technology, where we emit so much bad electromagnetism, computers, laptops, microwaves, iPhones, HARP, this frequency is going to ionosphere, affecting the frequency of our planet. By 94, it was already 8.6, 99, 11.2 hertz. 2013, it was at 15.1, last year at 16 hertz. And this is very bad because there is a direct effect of the Schumann resonance coming from the ionosphere to our brain waves. We think we produce brain waves. When we sleep, our brain waves are at very low frequency, up to 4 hertz. We meditate 4 to 7.5. When we are deeply relaxed, 7.5 to 14. And that's exactly in this range where the Schumann resonance was. The best frequency for the memory, for the creativity, for the learning, for the imagination. We woke up, frequency goes up. We drive fast cars, adrenaline, it goes up. However, we can live under adrenaline 5 or 10 minutes, not 24 hours a day. And that's exactly what's happening today. instead of the best frequency for us, for our energy flow through our chakras, 7.83, we are getting this, higher than ultra low frequency, and we are all becoming very aggressive zombies. When it comes to purpose of pyramids, they were not built as a place to bury one dead body. They were built as the most complex energy machine to affect all walks of our life. Communication, transportation, agriculture, water, healing properties. We have to learn from them. Those who are saying there are no pyramids in Bosnia, I got one message for them. These pyramids have been there for ages, long before we came to this planet. They are here during our short lifespan. We better learn as much as we can. They will be there long after we are gone. I'm going to jump through this part and talk about the underground tunnels. When I wrote my first book about Bosnian pyramids in 2005, I could see with my own eyes only 2 pyramids. Later on, we discovered 3 more on satellite and topographic maps. But I wrote in my first book that we were going to discover a network of underground tunnels. And I based that on my experience with Egyptian, Chinese, Mexican pyramids. Everybody attacked me. 10 years later, turns out I was right. It is a network that runs for tens of kilometers, prehistorical in age. From the entrance to Tunnel Ravne, to the Pyramid of the Sun, 2.5 kilometers. Light blue below the pyramid, 280 meters below the top, exactly like the Russians told us. This is how the tunnels look like. A huge network, tunnels, passageways, chambers, intersections, underground lakes. However, we can see at least 2 civilizations, one who built the network, the second one who shut all the tunnels down. They sealed them off with the fill-in material. To the right, we can see lighter fill-in material, and we can see dry walls. Then a few meters later, another dry walls. 2 civilizations, both of them were able to manipulate with the huge quantities of material. So what we do, we clean the tunnels that lead us towards the Sun Pyramid, and that is south-southeast direction. We don't open all the tunnels. This is a huge labyrinth. We don't have time, money, but we open those who will take us exactly under the Sun Pyramid. When they close those tunnels, we are finding organic material in the fill-up material, according to one of the dating coming from Gliwice, Poland, 4,610 years, almost 5,000 years. This is our famous block, which we call K2, which was covered by this river conglomerate. River conglomerate, that's the natural deposits. But the block, this is work of intelligent hands. This is archaeology. How old is archaeology? The minimum age we will get through the age of geology of this conglomerate. If we can find a piece of wood in this conglomerate, it means it will give us a day when the flood, when the water brought all this material. That's exactly what happened. We found this brownish piece of organic material, which was captured between sand and pebbles. We did analysis in Germany and Poland, the age between 31 and 35,000 years. Perfectly fit 34,000 years old Pyramid of the Sun. Now, this is the block as we have it today. It's sitting on support, very important archaeological proof. If you have support, it means somebody has chosen this place because it was important. We know why. Below, underground water flows, actually 3 of them. They place the block exactly on top of it. Why? Water moves, releases the energy. They place the block on top of it. We can see relief on the top of this block. Maybe it represents valleys, the hills, the rivers of Visoko Valley tens of thousands of years ago. We took samples from the block, had them analyzed at the Institute for Atomic Physics. They did 2 very sophisticated analyses, Röntgen diffraction analysis and phased analysis, and their conclusion was that the sample was definitely an artificial ceramic material. If it is ceramic, it means it is made by intelligent hand. And then, since it is thick, about half a meter, we use georadar instrument to find out if there was anything inside. These experts told us two things. The first, this block is made in two pieces, base and the cover. In between, an air pillow. And second, exactly in the middle, they discovered an oval object. They told us it was not the air, it was not the water, it was not ceramic, it was not metal, but mineral, most probably quartz crystal. So what do we have now? 22 meters below this block, underground water flows. Energy is getting released. It is activating quartz crystal. It is surrounded by ceramic. Ceramic vibrates and generates electromagnetic fields. And we can measure two major frequencies, 28 kilohertz and 7.83 hertz, the Schumann resonance. So what we are looking at right now is not a natural phenomenon. This is a technology. The ancients knew how to use natural energy sources, how to use different materials, the new properties of those materials, and all of that in order to get the proper frequencies. So it was always about the energy, the frequencies, the vibrations, and the amplifications of those frequencies. The ancients were smart. A lot to learn from them. And all those frequencies, like the picture bottom left shows, we can measure with scientific instruments that we have available today. This place is becoming a place where people gather, they open their hands, and they can feel energy going through their hands. They can feel tickling. At one point in the time, our bodies were the best instruments. Besides 5 physical senses, we have been developing 30 spiritual senses. Every physical sense has its counterpart on spiritual level, 5 of them, but also 25 more. Exchange thoughts, telepathy, bend objects, telekinesis, move through space, teleportation, move through time, back and forth, past and present, see other people's aura, bioenergy fields, fix their problems, healing aspects, reading their auras, reading different colors. These are spiritual senses, and they are making us free people. Today, in our educational system, what they do, they limit us to our physical senses so they can rule us, they can manipulate us. Now, the Bosnian Pyramid Project, with its energies, becoming the place where we are trying to make alive all those spiritual senses. So this project is, on one end, interdisciplinary scientific project, and it stands out because all other archaeological projects are exclusively archaeological projects. But then we view this project through energy, spiritual, and healing realms. That's why we are on a good track to find the true purpose of Bosnian Pyramid Complex. Now, here we can see one of those underground tunnels. They are flooded. But we can also see above my head a perfectly spherical light beings. In spiritual science, they are called orbs. In the last 10 years, we filmed more than 10,000 photos with orbs. Here we can see another one, about 35 centimeters in radius, a big one. It's standing between the tool and the camera. More orbs. We've noticed that they move always when there is some action. They're doing something, the guides are bringing tourists. Orbs. The guy who sold 62 million copies of his books from 1967 to present, the guy from Switzerland, Erich von Däniken, visited the tunnels also. And while I was explaining him different aspects of tunnels, let's see what the camera filmed. This is something that we cannot see with our naked human eyes. You will see orbs, perfectly spherical light beings, coming from side tunnels, tens of them, hundreds of them. They're flying at different speed, sometimes slow, sometimes quick. They're going up and down, they're changing directions. They said the next day, the fourth day, they don't need thousands of them. Imagine if we can widen our eyesight. What a fabulous, rich world we would be able to see. Now, we discovered a new side tunnel, and let's see what me and my dog are able to find out. Thousands of orbs are coming out. Is it sunny? Good boy. Thousands of them. You can't see it with your naked eye, but then through the lenses of camera, you can. Listen to my surprise.
How many orbs? Look, hundreds of them. Can you see them? Can you see them? Yes.
And finally, one of our volunteers, this one, well, this one is not working, okay. So, orbs. In 2010, we discovered the first underground chamber, 220 meters from the entrance. It was completely filled with material, which we removed manually, the wheelbarrows. And that's why we need volunteers, that's why we need workers, that's why we need money to clean all those tunnels. We've noticed that people feel good. They go through a tunnel, through a chamber, feel good. They can breathe well. People with the asthma, when they get out, they don't need those inhalators, air pumps no more. People with the pains in their back, the pains are gone. People with allergies are gone. We wanted to find scientific explanation. So we measured first the negative ions. Negative ions are good for our body. They clean our body from viruses and bacteria. They raise the level of oxygen. In our offices today, 100 negative ions per cubic centimeter. Downtowns, 400. On the mountains, 3,000-4,000. In the tunnels in Bosnia, 35 to 40,000. Somebody built underground healing facility. The second problem we have living on the face of the planet are the cosmic radiations. Some of them are very bad for us. They harm us. So our body cells fight those harmful radiations. In the tunnels, 30 meters below the ground level, no negative cosmic radiations. Number 3, natural radioactivity. From the underground, radioactivity is coming to the top, affecting us. In the tunnels, using Geiger counters, we've proven there are no radioactivity. So the moment you enter the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, your body does not have enemies no more. Your body cells can start doing their job. What is their job? To fix the problems in the body, to start the regeneration process, to start the self-healing process. One of our youngest volunteers, 74-year-old engineer Janez Pelko from Slovenia, brought his instruments to measure human aura. This is how this bioenergy field looks like. To the right is the best aura. It's still not good. As long as you have continuous aura, it means you are totally protected. The other cases, not good, meaning there are some health problems. I measured my aura before I entered the tunnels. This is how it looked like. We can see the left side, it's perfect, it's continuous. To the right side, started good, but around the knees, there is discontinuation. Mr. Pelko told me, you might have a blood circulation problem. I went into the tunnels, I came back 2 hours later, I got measured again, and look at now. The aura is bigger, continuous, better distributed, left side perfect, right side started good, the knees completely self-healed. So the pyramid energy helps us to self-heal. Our colleague from Russia, Valery Varov, built a pyramid near St. Petersburg, near Moscow, and now in Tomsk, 33 pyramids. To the left is one of his workers before he entered the pyramid. To the right is after he came back. We can see the perfect aura. The pyramid energy can be measured. The truth is we don't have all the instruments yet, but people have been talking about it for decades. And now we can find some scientific proofs that once you're exposed to pyramid energy, yes, you're going to help yourself when it comes to your health. Water, very important asset in our pyramids and the tunnels. We are finding underground lakes. water somewhere reaching 155 centimeters, but perfectly clear and clean. This is not the surface water coming 30 meters deep, no. During the floods, outside, water level does not rise. During the dry seasons, the water level does not drop, meaning it's been there for tens of thousands of years. We did chemical, microbiological analysis, they told us it is drinkable, no viruses, bacteria. We sent samples to Dr. Masaru Emoto, who also passed away last year. Masaru Emoto became popular filming the molecular structure of the water, different waters. For example, contaminated lake, the molecular structure of water looks bad. This is the tap water from New York City. It looks ugly. This is the tap water, city water from town of Visoko, the pyramid town, but still, it is the city water with the chlorine, with the traces of heavy metals. Again, it looks bad. And this is the molecular structure of the Bosnian pyramid water. It makes such a beautiful hexagonal shape and look at like a quartz crystals. This water is energetically alive. It is happy. Those of you who come to Bosnia, you will be able to buy a bottle as a souvenir, but some of you will know it is not just a souvenir. It raises your vibrational level. So when we come to purpose of labyrinths and pyramids, they were built for the living communities. They would improve the molecular structure of water, which means life, of our food, of our air, of our health, of course, communication and other aspects. So we need to learn from the ancient builders. Since we're running out of time, I'm going to jump over through one of my books and say this. In the last 10 years, people start changing perception about Bosnia. Not only as a country of war and violence and war criminals, most corrupted, least developed in Europe, all the bad stuff, but also as a country of pyramids, cultural heritage, tourists, volunteers, good news, positive image. That's what we want to do with this project also. People are coming from 80 countries. The youngest are coming, waiting to enter the tunnels. Those blondes from sports teams are coming from Northern Europe. Those tourists from Malaysia are coming. What are they doing? They are laying on the concrete blocks of the Sun Pyramid, getting charged with the pyramid energy. We started a new program this year, which we called Expeditions on Bosnian Pyramids with Volunteering. So during this program, we show participants all the archaeological locations. We take them to some spiritual sites, megalithic sites, beauties of Bosnia. And then they get the tools in their hands. They start working with us, helping us, removing the soil from the Bosnian pyramid of the sun and the moon, removing the fill-up material from the tunnels, but always with a smile, having fun. And when you think about the future of archaeology, science, and humanity, it is not with the closed-minded people. It is not with the serious and too serious scientists who don't want to share information with the others. It's with the people who are open-minded, who are ready to share, and with the smile on their faces. Come to Bosnia. Thank you for your attention.